this is Shooting Star ASMR. In this video, I'm going to be doing something that I have never tried to do before. So I'm going to be covering a case of wrongful conviction. This case occurred in the United Kingdom. I just want to put out a warning before I begin this video. There is going to be talk about the death of children, as well as talk about alcoholism and dependency. So if that's something that will upset you, I urge you to not watch this video. Also, if you can hear background noise, it's the computer. I'm hoping it's not going to be too distracting. But I have to have it open for the notes of this case. So let's get started. This case is about Sally Clark. So Sally Clark, originally Lockyer, was born on the 15th of August 1964 in Devizes, which is a small town in Wiltshire, England. Sally was born to her parents. Her father was a senior police officer and her mother was a hairdresser. Sally worked as a management trainee in London before marrying Steve Clark, who was a solicitor. They married in 1990. She trained to be a solicitor as well in London before moving to Manchester with her husband in 1994. They joined a law firm in Manchester together. The married couple purchased their first house together in Wilmslow, Cheshire. Sally became pregnant and their first child, a son named Christopher, was born on the 22nd of September 1996. Christopher was a healthy baby boy until an ambulance was called to their house on the 13th of December 1996. Christopher had fallen unconscious after he was put to bed. He was pronounced dead after arriving at the hospital via ambulance. Dr. Williams, a Home Office pathologist, ruled Christopher's death as death due to SIDS, which is sudden infant death syndrome. Sally suffered from postnatal depression after this. However, she was in treatment. She was in recovery when her second child, Harry, was born on the 29th of November 1997. However, unfortunately, another ambulance was called to their home on the 26th of January 1998, and Harry was unfortunately pronounced dead shortly afterwards. After Harry's death, Sally called for a specialist pathologist examination and report as she was concerned that there may be a genetic abnormality causing the death of her children. However, this request was denied. Dr. Williams performed a subsequent autopsy on Harry and he reported signs of shaken baby syndrome. These findings were referred to two other professors, Professor Green and Professor Meadow, and these professors also agreed with Dr. Williams's findings. Dr. Williams reviewed the findings of Christopher's autopsy and he ruled that his death was actually a smothering upon reinspection. Sally Clark and Steve Clark were arrested on the 23rd of February 1998 on suspicion of murdering their two children. Sally refused to answer questions twice upon the advice of her lawyers. The autopsies Professor Roy Meadow. Professor Meadow stated the possibility of her 2 children from an affluent family suffering cot death was 1 in 73 million. The Home Office pathologist, Dr. Williams, withheld the results of bacteriology tests on Harry. These tests proved that the bacterium Staphylococcus aureus was found in his cerebrospinal fluid. Dr. Williams was asked directly at the trial if any blood tests had been conducted. However, Dr. Williams denied this and he actively withheld the results of these tests. Sally was charged with the murder of her 2 children on the 9th of November 1999 with a 10-2 majority verdict of guilty. The charges against Steve were dropped, as I previously mentioned, so he was not involved in any of the charges at all. Sally was charged with 2 counts of murder and she was sentenced to life imprisonment. Sally ferociously denied the charges and was supported throughout the ordeal by her husband. During the court proceedings, Sally gave birth to their 3rd child, another son named Tom, and he survived. Sally was originally imprisoned in Steyal Women's Prison in Wilmslow, which was near her home. Sally called for an appeal, however, the convictions were upheld at the appeal in October 2000. Sally was later moved to Bulwood Hall Women's Prison in Hockley, Essex. Unfortunately, she was a major target for abuse during her imprisonment, as she was a solicitor and the daughter of a police officer. Also, many cases involving children, especially babies, receive a lot of media attention, and there's a lot of, stigma surrounding these kinds of cases. Steve was forced to leave the Manchester law firm to cover the bills of the trial and the appeal. In 2003, a second appeal was launched to overturn the convictions. During this appeal, the microbiological tests conducted on Harry's body were revealed, and the evidence was given that bacteria indicated he had died from natural causes. This evidence had not been disclosed to the defence, therefore Sally did not know this. Dr. Williams had known this since February 1998, but it was not declared to other medical witnesses, police or lawyers that this bacteria had been found. This evidence was unearthed by Steve Clark after accessing hospital records. These records were obtained by Marilyn Stowe. Marilyn was a divorce lawyer and she provided her services free of charge, as she felt that something was not right within the case. Those were her words. The second appeal also revealed that the evidence presented during the trial was seriously flawed. Her case was referred to the Court of Appeal by the Criminal Cases Review Commission, and her convictions were overturned in January 2003. She was released from prison after serving more than 3 years of her sentence, as her sentence was a life sentence. The evidence provided by the medical experts, as I mentioned, was extremely flawed. Professor Green had previously stated that Harry had signs of a shaken baby syndrome, which he believed was due to a retinal injury. However, it was later discovered that the retinal damage was actually inflicted post-mortem, so after Harry had died. And this fact well. It's also extremely upsetting, but interesting. He had testified that the likelihood of multiple cot deaths in a single family was extremely unlikely. He was struck from the medical register in 2005 for serious professional misconduct. However, he was reinstated in 2006 after an appeal, and the court ruled that his actions had amounted to misconduct, though not serious enough to warrant him being struck off. In June 2005, Dr. Williams was banned from home office pathology work and coroner's cases for 3 years after the General Medical Council found him guilty of serious professional misconduct. After he failed to report evidence of the infection that led to Harry's death, as well as his unexplained change of opinion. Dr. Williams previously stated before trial that Christopher had died due to a lower respiratory infection. However, this was later changed to an actual death of smothering. He failed to provide a good reason for this change in opinion, and his competence was questioned. He denied the opportunity for an appeal or to explain why he changed his opinion on this. Although the decision of the Medical Council was upheld by the High Court in 2007, he was allowed to practice again following an 18-month suspension. Although, unfortunately for Sally, she was never able to recover from the effects of her wrongful conviction and her subsequent imprisonment. Her husband, Steve Clark, claimed that after her release, Sally was never well again. A family spokesperson stated Sally was unable to come to terms with the false accusations based on flawed medical evidence and the failures of the legal system, which debased everything she had been brought up to believe in and which she herself practiced. As I mentioned, she was a solicitor and her father was a police officer, so she had faith in the criminal justice system that many people would probably not have, and after the experiences of the criminal justice system that she was put through, obviously she lost her faith in the justice system altogether. Sally was diagnosed with a number of severe psychiatric problems following her conviction and imprisonment, including enduring personality change due to trauma, protracted grief reaction, and alcohol dependency syndrome. Following this, Sally was found dead in her home in Hatfield, Peveril, in Essex, on the 16th of March 2007. It was originally believed that she died of natural causes, but a later inquest found that she had died due to acute alcohol intoxication. However, the coroner did not believe that this was an intentional death, and it was ruled as not a suicide. Although there is no way of truly knowing this, as we do not know what Sally's intentions were. I want to finish this video with a quote from Sally after her conviction was quashed in 2003. "Today is not a victory. We are not victorious. There are no winners here. We have all lost out. We simply feel relief that our nightmare is finally at an end." All Sally wanted was to return to her family and try to regain the peace that they had lost after her ordeal, but unfortunately she was never able to recover, and she subsequently lost her life due to the trauma that she had experienced. I hope that you enjoyed this video and that you found it interesting. This video was inspired by my studies of criminology, as I'm currently doing a module about wrongful convictions. It's a very upsetting topic, but it really opens your eyes to some of the injustices and the miscarriages of justice that